Welcome to Bipolar and Surviving. This is a blog and now a podcast of stories about living with bipolar disorder and surviving. Whether you suffer from mental illness, know someone with it, or are otherwise affected by it, this site offers real stories of hope and survival. As always, feel free to check out our website at www.bipolarandsurviving.com. We are also available on Facebook and Twitter. Feel free to give this episode a rating if you happen to like it, and also to share it on social media. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Bipolar and Surviving podcast. My name is Dan, and I am here to talk about religious devotion and illness today. So before I jump in, I just want to say thank you to everybody who listens, everybody who shares this podcast on social media or otherwise, and everybody who gives things ratings on iTunes and other platforms. Just a quick note about the audio today. You may hear my son screaming in the background. He's currently undergoing a feeding. I fed him last round, so my wife has agreed to take him this round. So very, very thankful for her. So let's jump right in. So I wanted to talk about religious devotion today. So first I want to say that religious devotion is not necessarily a sign of illness. So there are many religious traditions, and I respect all of them. I think that there are many good things with religion, and it can be perverted for sure, and it can be turned into something that's really bad. But overall, religion is not inherently good or bad. I think it's just something that people use to find their place in the world, and to find reassurance, and to find comfort and joy, and relief from the troubles of the world. Primarily, of course, there are many other things that it does. And there are many types of religious devotion that people from other cultures might say, oh, that's weird, or that seems like an illness, when it really isn't. But my experience with religious devotion centers around my Buddhist practice. So I guess you could call a really bad Buddhist. I need to meditate more and do all these things. Strangely enough, there is no should, in Buddhism, but it's just something I would like to meditate more. So therefore, I jokingly call myself a bad Buddhist. So my main struggle with Buddhism is the concept of impermanence, and as it applies to enlightenment. So enlightenment is nirvana. It's this stage, this state of mind, I guess you could say, or state of being, where suffering ends and everything is okay, so to speak. So this state is claimed to be permanent, which conflicts with a major tenet of the Buddhist philosophy, which is that everything is impermanent. And so I wrestle with this all the time. Eventually, I kind of reconciled it by talking with my wife about it. And she said, well, if it's your experience that it's impermanent and that it's always changing, then go with it. That's your experience. So that's what I've been using as my guide, is that even enlightenment is impermanent. However, I know that I have gone manic when I think that I am enlightened, and then when I think I'm permanently enlightened. So instead of getting these glimpses of clarity, of thought, of inspiration that I would call enlightenment normally, I think that I'm permanently enlightened. I think that I will permanently end my suffering, that I will permanently end the suffering of the world, that I'm some sort of God or some sort of supernatural being, that I don't fear death, which I think it's necessary to fear death even a little bit as a human being, but where I don't fear death at all. There are a lot of things that make this sense of enlightenment, this permanent enlightenment, the hallmark of mania for me. So the fact that I can think that I'm supernatural also kind of goes into the thoughts that I can read people's minds, that I can exert supernatural powers by doing simple things. The fact that I think that via rituals I can control things and control my mind and be in complete control of myself, when in reality that's the furthest thing from the truth, because I am out of control when I think I'm the most in control. So this leads to a feeling that I don't really know who I am and my place in the universe. And so when I crash out of my feelings of enlightenment, I'm confronted with this bleak reality that I really don't know who I am and where I am in the universe and all of that. And the thing is, that's okay. So when I finally realized that, and I finally realized that I was thinking that I was enlightened and everything, then I can recognize that I was in mania. So ways that I can avoid this feeling include a general self-awareness. So when I think I'm getting more and more certain about life, when I feel like I'm getting more and more definitive about my place in life and things like that, I know that I need to watch out. So I'm not saying don't find your place in life and don't think that you can achieve some sort of relief from your suffering. What I'm saying is that when you're feeling the most in control and when you think that you're alleviating the most of everything, just when you think everything is going extremely perfectly, then watch out, because it could be the sign of something going wrong with your mind. So, like I said, religious devotion is not necessarily a bad thing. I still practice Buddhism. I still practice mindfulness. I'm a mindfulness geek. I really enjoy meditating, even though I don't do it as often as I would like to. But you have to be careful about religious devotion and taking it too far. Some other side effects of religious devotion and taking it too far, besides mania, include a general rigidity with life. So thinking that things have to follow certain rules and certain commands and dialogues and dogmas, that can be problematic if you have mental illness, because that can spiral into obsessions and compulsions, rituals, controlling others, verbally hurting others, verbally abusing others. And that can happen to anybody, but for me, as a person with mental illness, it's something that I need to watch out for, because that could be amplified compared to how a quote-unquote normal person would express those things. So that's the gist of the topic that I wanted to cover today. Just a very short episode about religious devotion and how it applies to mental illness. So I would encourage you, if you are interested in different religious viewpoints, to start looking into them. Not just because it could provide you peace of mind and clarity and a sense of understanding the world, but just because it's something that's fascinating. So anyway, some podcasts that I recommend for Buddhism in particular are Secular Buddhism by Noah Rasheta. There's also Everyday Buddhism by Wendy, I think it's Haylett. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. There are also a lot of other podcasts and books out there. Even if you're not into religion and you want to help strengthen your mind, you can view lots of Buddhist texts. Even by Thich Nhat Hanh, there's one called "A Peace Is Every Step." That's a good one to start with. And those are the kind of books that I've been reading, about inner peace and doing things for yourself and making sure that you are a refuge of peace for yourself. And that really helps. But like I said, I have to watch out. If I take that too far, then I could be hurting myself. I could be hurting others. I could be in danger. So the moral of the story is balance. Balance out your religious devotion with a sense of self-awareness. There are many of you who may be atheists or agnostics who are listening to this, and you might say, well, I have no religious devotion. Chances are you have some sort of devotion to the way you view life and your worldview. I think that could be chalked up to religion in some ways, because many people hold on to that like a dogma. And I have no judgment against any other religion or atheism or agnosticism. I just think that with anything, with any ideology, with any religious belief in particular, practice it, enjoy it, find fulfillment with it, find your place in the world, and in the end, recognize that it's not the end all be all. You have to live your life, and you have to watch out to make sure that that devotion doesn't turn into something that's going to hurt your life or even take your life. So I've been rambling a little bit today because it's such an intense topic for me. It's affected me so much and so deeply. Spiritual crises are very common for me. And I wanted to convey that it's all about balance. It's all about balancing your fervor with your reason. There's a great song by Rush called Hemispheres. it's the song title, I think, is like Cygnus Hemispheres or something like those lines. It basically talks about man's mind and man's reasoning, mankind's mind. I know women, men, non-binary, of course. So it talks about mankind's reasoning. So the balance between the love and reason side of the brain, and that's very important. So just be careful. Don't let one side overpower the other. Don't let love or religious devotion balance out outside of reason. Just be careful. But that's something that you just have to be aware of. So anyways, thank you for listening today. This was just a short episode. I just wanted to quickly record in the middle of my son needing feedings and diaper changes and things like that. So I might do an episode about him and how much he's changed my life and all those things. So until next time, thank you so much. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for giving ratings if you did like this. So anyways, until next time, thank you.